there's so much shit that's happened in the last month that trying to cover it all in one discussion is going to be tough. But we're going to give it a go.
Yeah, just bear with us. It's a bit shaky.
So, we might be a week or so late, but Hyde Park, I've been wanting to discuss this because obviously I've heard mixed things from people that were there, extreme media on either side, whether it be painting what happened in a light much worse than it was, or whether it was people defending what happened and trying to make it a little bit lighter than it was, and then people that were actually there and witnessed things.
Basically, a police officer got stabbed in Hyde Park about a week ago, right?
Yeah.
It was from a gathering of people.
Bashment in the park.
Oh,
so it's called Bashment.
So it wasn't even a Black Lives Matter thing?
No, it wasn't a Black Lives Matter thing at all. So I think it's something that started on Instagram. That's where it was born, and they wanted to do a Bashment in the park. So Bashment music.
So wait, this has nothing to do with Black Lives Matter?
Nothing to do with Black Lives Matter.
So why the fuck has it been painted as Black Lives Matter ends up clashing with police in the park?
It was stupid, blood.
So from what I understand, my partner was actually there, and it started as a bashment in the park, and loads of youth came down. Let's say about 2,000 people.
What?
Yeah, a lot. Of
Wait, who organised this party?
It's just Instagram. This is the world now. Like Instagram is.
So 2,000 people just turn up randomly in the park for this party.
For the party, and it was like the hottest day of the year, and you know that brings out our wild sides. So they turn out, they want to set up a sound system. I don't know if you know, but you have to have a license.
Of course.
And from what my partner has said, the police were actually being quite okay about this to start with. Although they didn't have a license, they were like, okay, it's a hot day, we can see you want to have fun. Here's an hour. After an hour, we're coming and we're going to take it away.
So the police let them have an hour?
They let them have an hour. Exactly.
Unlicensed?
Unlicensed.
Oh shit.
I think because like the rest of the park were enjoying it as well. You had families there, people with picnics, people with kids.
Fair enough. So the vibe was alright.
So it was a vibe. The police were probably enjoying it. And then when they did have to cut it off, that's when it kind of spiraled from there.
I heard about internal beef kicking off between different groups of people as well. Like before the police turned up, I heard about people beefing with each other. Somebody got stabbed, or like, this is all hearsay.
Yeah.
But from what I understand, the reason it's been attached to Black Lives Matter is because when people started clashing with the police, there were some of the people in the park started to chant Black Lives Matter at the police. And apparently what happened was one of the police turned around and said all lives matter and got bottled and stabbed. That's what I've heard from someone that was there. Now, I'm not saying it's right to then bottle and stab a policeman, but you would think, in light of things, if you're met with a disturbance as a police officer, or multiple police officers, you're met with the disturbance, you understand the sensitivity of what is happening at the moment. Do you really think chanting back all lives matter is the justified response?
I got something.
Do you honestly think that's not an inflammatory response
that's
going to cause more?
Look, my whole life I've grown up kind of like, I guess, I've grown up that child that says fuck the police. Because as a child I always got fucking walking the street, they always stopped and searched me, and I just felt that fucking animosity towards police. But I'm an adult now and I kind of think a bit more clearer. And I will say this though, like in regard to what you're saying in terms of the police response to the Black Lives Matter chant. You can't fucking just use that Black Lives Matter chant whenever you fucking want to get out of a situation, or whenever you're in a situation when you're confronted with the police.
No.
So what I'm saying to you is that those people, if you're not fucking there for a protest about Black Lives Matter, shut the fuck up about Black Lives Matter. You can't have 2,000 people who were there for a party and then all of a sudden you're beefing with the police and now it's an all Black Lives Matter situation, because that's fucking wrong and that's fucked up. You kind of diluting the Black Lives Matter kind of cause.
Even if they had no attachment to that particular movement, why, when it happens to black people, do they feel like the actual Black Lives Matter now need to justify why they don't condone that behaviour? Because no one ever asked me to justify why I don't condone football violence in France. I wasn't there. These people who were committing this violence are white, middle-aged men who are football fans, much like myself. Yet no one tells me that I need to condemn that in order for people to know that I don't have anything to do with it.
So wait, so you're saying
so how come that people... What I'm saying is that there was more violence in France. There's been more violence in France during the Euros from British football fans than there has been from any Black Lives Matter campaigners in this country. So how come black people are forced, or Black Lives Matter as a movement, are forced to condemn and justify why these actions don't fall in line with their movement? Yet nobody is forcing me as a white football fan to condemn football violence and you know, always make a point of being like, you know, this has nothing to do with me, you know, I don't condone this, because people just assume that as a decent person I don't condone it. Why don't people just assume that people who are pro Black Lives Matter, being that it's a positive movement, why wouldn't people just assume that they don't condemn violence or they don't condemn stabbing people? Why is that not an assumed thing?
I tell you what, if there's a bunch of English football fans that went to the Euros to fucking start fighting with other fans, and a section of those English fans were saying Liverpool FC, Liverpool FC, Liverpool FC, I'm gonna be like, yo, Liverpool FC now need to write a statement saying that they don't condone that kind of fucking action because you're because you're.
No, they don't, and they never will.
What do you mean? No, they don't. No, they don't. I'm saying if that happened, then Liverpool Football Club will have to put out a statement saying this is not our fans, that we don't condone this behaviour. You know what I'm saying? Alright, no, trust me, if fans did that, they would. But it's just like, when you talk, what I'm saying to you is that the point you made stands strong if those people didn't say Black Lives Matter. My problem is these motherfuckers said Black Lives. You turn up to the fucking park for a party, and then you end up saying Black Lives Matter. Where's the connection?
Well, I guess it's down to the fact that they don't necessarily understand what Black Lives Matter.
Thank you, that's my
about.
fucking point.
And also, but there is a long-standing, you know, like you said about you have tension with the police, you have a growing animosity towards the police, and like Snips said, you know, it is an inflammatory comment. And although, of course, none of the guys there were there for Black Lives Matter, but I think the truth about it is Black Lives Matter as a statement makes people uncomfortable.
I agree.
And that's why the police officers felt maybe the need to respond in that way, because for some reason, Black Lives Matter, and the whole reason why the term exists is because the world acts as though they don't matter sometimes. You know, and the fact that we have people wanting to derail from it, or the fact that White Lives Matter exists anyway, or Blue Lives Matter, like, we don't do that when people are campaigning about breast cancer. We're not like, well, hey, prostate cancer.
I agree.
Like, we don't do that. So,
what is Black Lives Matter to you? I guess
that's that is trying to address structural racism within the United States, you know, and police brutality.
Yeah. I agree with that statement, and for me, it's more kind of like, I guess, it stems from trying to kind of like combat the injustice that the police seem to have towards that a large, to a population in America, and it happens to be the black community we're talking about, right? But we're in a scenario right now where it's like black folks in general just feel the pressure, whether it's from other black folks, whether it's from non-black folks, that they feel they just have to jump on this fucking like wave, even though they don't know what the fuck they're kind of campaigning against. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think, and to me, it's like it's important to kind of like discuss that, because there's nothing wrong with not knowing the scenario. But for me, you have to do your kind of research, and you kind of have to dive into it and kind of work it out for yourself, kind of scenario. So I'm saying, I think we're even in a fucked up situation when we're getting other black folks saying, oh, if you don't join this Black Lives Matter thing with a fucking click of the finger, then you're fucking Uncle Tom, or you're a fucking, what do you call it? You're a fucking bounty, or you're for the other fucking side. So I guess what I'm trying to first like work out is that this Black Lives movement is actually for something. There's actually a purpose in this. It's not just a matter of like blacks against the fucking world, or blacks against police, blacks against fucking whites. That's not the scenario for me. So I'm kind of condemning those motherfuckers that went to the park for a party, but ended up making it a Black Lives Matter thing.
The thing is, this is still an assumption that there was a large percentage of people that started chanting.
Well, Ayishat get like, so her partner was there, and she said that's what happened.
She said, but then she didn't let me know to what degree, how many people were doing this, because this could have been like literally 5 people.
This is the thing. This is sometimes all it takes is one person to say it, and suddenly that's a crutch for people to condemn a movement based off the action of 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, I agree.
And this is the thing that's upsetting, is that it only happens to certain demographics. You know, somebody walks into a building, blows themselves up in the name of Islam, and suddenly we condemn every Muslim. Somebody who somehow we've attached to Black Lives Matter does something criminal, and suddenly Black Lives Matter is a criminal organization. If you were to say, wow, the Leave campaign was a violent movement because somebody shot dead an MP in the name of, you know, his political beliefs against her stuff. So are we then able to tarnish every Leave campaigner as being a part of a violent organisation? No, we can't do that. And the first people who will tell you that you can't tarnish people all with the same brush are the people that tarnish Black Lives Matter or tarnish Islam or tarnish whatever else. These are the same people that will be the first people to jump to the defence if you ever tried to condemn.
We talk about the Daily Mail, the Sun, and papers that kind of like, the narrative is that black folks are kind of, or people of immigrants, whatever you fucking want to call it, are the butt of society. So for me, it's like, cool, I get it, but that's not for me, because it's just, they're just doing what they do, innit? And I'm obviously not saying it's fucking right, but it's just like, why am I talking about those fucking papers, man?
Yeah, but you can't just dismiss bigotry as, oh, that's just how it is.
No, I'm not dismissing it. We can't discuss why the Sun do that, and we can't discuss why the Daily Mail does, because that's not us. Like, we aren't the Daily Mail, and we aren't the Sun.
Well, we can still have an opinion on why they choose to do what they do, and what the motive is behind it.
And the more people who put pressure on it, I guess maybe these
instances... All right, okay, my question is this now. Is our fight to change the narrative of these newspapers? And how do we go about doing that?
I think the fight should be this. I think there's a huge problem with the liberals of Britain right now, because what the liberals have done is demonized every single person who essentially has been a victim of right-wing propaganda as being moronic, stupid, racist, whatever else. If you're liberal and you're left-wing and you're progressive, which a lot of these people claim to be, the motive should be to engage the people that are disenfranchised and don't have the same luxuries when it comes to being able to process information that you might do, you know, with your level of education or your level of social understanding or whatever. If you look at the majority of people that are running around beating up immigrants or screaming at Polish people and telling them that now you've got to go home or whatever, these people are uneducated. They're the bottom of society, essentially. And what we do as liberals now is condemn them and be like, they're the problem, they're morons. No, what we need to do is start attacking the system that is manipulating these people to think in the way that they do. It's the system's problem. There's a motive within the system. I get really annoyed when I see people that are supposedly like, look at these fucking morons, look at them fucking idiots. And it's like, hold on, these are the working class people that you actually claim to fight for. But suddenly, if they don't feel the same way you do, you then condemn them rather than try and engage with them. If politicians were going to be real about stuff, I mean real about the facts of life in terms of like, this is the amount of money we've got allocated to this and that, certain people are going to lose, certain people aren't, it's just going to get too tricky and too mucky. How do you make a decision when you have to divide society and some people are going to benefit and some people aren't? So we all know that politicians fucking just work on demagoguery. They just play on people's like emotions rather than like facts of the matter. So if I'm a politician and I want to gain like votes from over here, all I'm going to do is just work out, I guess, what their issues are, what their fears are, and what they think is, what are they going to push their backs up against the most. So that's what I'm going to supply them. So I'm not going to give them the facts, because it's never about the facts, is it? Because even if you go back to Black Lives Matter now, when you actually ask all these people that are campaigning for Black Lives Matter, how many black folks have actually died at the hands of police in the year, they wouldn't be able to tell you. And I'm sure most of them will fucking be shocked when they find that white people have been killed more. I'm not saying it's like proportionate within the population, but it's just a majority of white people being killed at the hands of police than black folks. I guarantee you half the people won't even fucking know that shit. So it's never really about the facts, is it? So going back to this scenario where, due to like, I guess, right-wing propaganda, why are we blaming the people who haven't necessarily got the tools to be able to discern from like correct information and like incorrect information? I'm trying to work out now, how do we put pressure on politicians who are fucking playing with our lives, and how do we put pressure on these newspapers that really couldn't give a fuck about the facts, but more give a fuck about selling their newspapers to their ideal demographic? How do we get to the crux of this to change the actual fucking viewpoint in the eyes of society? If there was an easy answer, then...
I mean,
But then I guess things like this help, you know, being able to, because if people can't discern between bad information, correct and good information, having people speak to them like us maybe, and other people like us, in a way that they can understand, you know, or making politics engaging for them. You know, people read the newspaper and they see all these words that they're not familiar with, and it turns them off, you know. And so there needs to be a lot more platforms where people can engage with people from their communities where they can understand, and it's not intimidating to them, because it is intimidating a lot of this stuff. And just like what you said, a lot of people feel it's not their responsibility. But if it's not our responsibility and we don't trust politicians, then who is it on?
See, this is the other thing. I think, you know, people love to point the finger, you know, you're not doing this for this movement, or what about this movement, and why aren't you doing this? And, you know, it's like when a tragedy happens somewhere, the first response is, what about the tragedy here? And what about the tragedy here? And it's like, everybody is using this shit as one-upmanship. And the reality is, people don't care about things that don't affect them.
Exactly.
Perfect example of this, yeah? Look at when Azealia Banks started spewing all that racist stuff towards, what's his name? Zayn Malik, yeah? And I noticed that the majority of people in the urban scene in the UK, black and white, the biggest issue they had was the fact that she dissed grime music. and nobody seemed to make a big deal about the fact that she dissed Asian people. And I thought about it, and I was like, hold on, because. And I was seeing equal comments from black and white people about, oh, you know, she dissing grime music, how dare she, whatever. And I suddenly thought, well, she's not dissing black people, so black people don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And she's not dissing black people, so white people don't give a shit. Because white people love to fly the flag for, I'm pro-black. It's not cool to fly the flag for being pro-Asian for white people, so they're not giving a shit. People only give a shit about stuff that either affects them or stuff that is cool to care about.
Oh yeah, of course. But
and right now, for white people, it's cool to care about black people. It's not cool to care about other people. You know, people have like box ticking, flag waving issues to fight for.
I agree with everything you just said. But I will say this as well, though, is in like you can't really blame people much because it's like if you cared about every atrocity that happened in the world, you'd have something to care about every fucking half an hour. You know what I'm saying?
So if you don't care. Just shut the fuck up.
That's not true though. It's not,
no.
I'll tell you why it's not true. Look, you're going about your day to day now, yeah, and you've read no newspaper, and so like the outside world you're just oblivious to. But there's a difference when it's like every corner you go on, there's like, oh, Boko Haram kidnapped 200 Nigerian girls, 200 Nigerian girls captured. So you're gonna start thinking, oh shit, I need to start caring about this thing now because I see it on every fucking corner.
Let me ask you this. I've never given money to cancer research.
Yeah.
None of my family have died from cancer. No one close to me. If my mum died of cancer tomorrow, more than likely, I'm going to want to start giving money to cancer research because it then becomes a problem that affects me. So that's what I'm saying. In respect to this, you look at it like that and so it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So you do care about things that affect you more. When the terrorist attack happened in Paris, my friend was in the restaurant and survived. So for me, that attack hit home more than attack in Lebanon because I don't know anyone in Lebanon. Not to say that any attack is worse or better. They're both equally as disastrous and they deserve equal airtime.
Your friend's life is more worth than a Lebanon person.
Exactly. So the thing is this, here's the problem with the response to Black Lives Matter. If you're white and you don't care about Black Lives Matter, just shut the fuck up.
I disagree. I completely disagree.
Just shut the fuck up.
I completely disagree.
Why?
What that person is going to feel like is exactly what you feel like about Indonesian sweatshops or the Eastern European sex trade. You're going to know it's horrible and you're going to know it's bad, but it's not something that affects your life or that you pay too much attention to.
But if you give me the right information, then I might have a better...
You might just be a caring person. There are people out there in the world who are even giving me information because like you can't break down structural racism in 5 minutes speaking to this white person who's putting up a resistance. So she's been educated by the world, like she's seeing things, she's got the internet at her hands and blah, 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 blah. She still doesn't care. She still wants to bring this other label. So what we're saying is if you don't agree or if it's not for you, then just leave it.
I mean, we could go back and forth about this all day. This is a topic that's way too big to condense into a short YouTube video. We're interested to hear what you guys think. Please leave a comment below.